Good morning. Well, write us off at your own peril. Those were the words from the Collingwood Vice Captain Nick Dacos only a matter of days ago. The Pies, mainly by their faithful, were given a chance by the rest of but not by the rest of the football community. They were given no hope. They'll be out in straight sets, was the buzz on the mainstream media, but the fans, they came by the busload quite literally and turned the final series on its head. But that's just a snippet of the stories that will come out of the final series for 2025. Tonight, we have the blockbuster game between Geelong and the Brisbane Lions at the MCG, and the final series is a league of its own, and what a ride it is for all competing fans. For the rest, the trade buzz is well and truly alive, with St Kilda confirming the acquisition of Jack Silvani and the worst kept secret of all time, TDK, moving to Moorabbin. Liam Ryan also looks like he will make his way across. The media world was silenced for another few years with Harley Reid committing to the West Coast Eagles, but they lost their captain, Oscar Allen, who's nominated Brisbane. Essendon looked to be the big players in the off-season with a monster offer headed over to the management of Zach Bailey from the Lions, and it's almost all but certain Sam Draper will make his way over to the Sunshine State also. Then there's Charlie Kerner. Will he be a Blue? Will he be a Blood? Or will the farm get thrown at him from the highway? And will he become a cat and be Jez's right-hand man? Boss says no. But wherever there is smoke, there is fire. We say goodbye to Sam Doherty from Carlton, Travis Spoke from Port Adelaide, Willie Rioli and Ken Hinkley from the Power also departed. Will Hoskin-Elliott announced his retirement from the Pies at come season's end as he's trying to break his way back into the side for late September action. Spring is in the air, so grab a coffee, sit tight for the next 45 minutes or half an hour depending, or even call in and have your say for anything AFL related. Brought to you by New Homes Victoria and the Hopper Bros Barbecue. For all your tips and tricks, give them a follow on Instagram. It's the RDO Show, and we're live on YouTube.
A ballsy win, like it felt like a 10-goal win. And that is the type of shit that gets everybody else into the fucking game. Oh, come on! On the wing, level 2, Shane Warne's there looking directly at it. Crispy from 50. Just a nice little dinky kick, and he's found Elliott. To Elliott in the goal square.
Whoa, whoa. Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh.
So let's talk about the performance of Collingwood last night. Backs against the wall style of win. The main question that was asked of the Pies are they going to be able to sustain the pressure throughout the whole game, or is it going to be a day where they come out and give us that dirty Pies performance like they did in WA those years ago? No one really gave them a chance at all, except for the Pies faithful. Straight sets was the call. But what happened last night at the Adelaide Oval was nothing but a pure coaching masterclass from Craig McRae. To the Collingwood fans that went out there by the busload, quite literally, well done. To those who forked out the money to fly over and spend so much of their hard-earned cash to see that performance, the gamble paid off, and the boys repaid the favour. At the end of the game, there were Collingwood legends in the room, Peter Moore, Peter Takos, and many others. But there was also the former president, Eddie Maguire, celebrating as not as a former president, but as a Collingwood fan, enjoying the moment. And that's what footy is about. Talking points out of this game, they're going to be huge. The bump to Lockie Schultz and also the bump by Jordan DeGoey. Will that get looked at the tribunal? Who knows? But overall, the third quarter performance from Collingwood saw them get over the line in what was truly a great performance of September action. We're going to get through a few things today. Obviously, last night was a massive talking point, but I'll save that for my personal review, which will be posted later on today. But there's another big game on tonight, and that is Geelong and the Brisbane Lions. Before I get our first guest on, who's going to talk all things finals, let's just touch on the trade period. St Kilda spending more than 20% of their TTP, or their TPP, sorry, I should say, and acquiring Tom De Koning and Jack Silvani from the Carlton Football Club. And now it looks like Liam Ryan is doing a medical and coming across. Oscar Allen, since the last time we did the RDO show, has announced that he will be going to the Brisbane Lions. And also Sam Draper from Essendon looks to be headed over there with him. For those that aren't competing in the finals, this is a finals league in itself, basically, trying to get players over, trying to get officials over. Carlton doing a bit of a scoop on the Port Adelaide board. All things are moving across quite quickly. There's going to be more trades, there's going to be more action, but we'll have to see what happens moving forward. But the main bit of concentration now is obviously on the teams that are playing in September. And to join us to talk about these games, I've got Robbie Winston. I'll add him to the stage. Wino, how are you, mate?
Andreas, I'm good, mate. How you going? Good morning. Good to be here.
Bad,
and yeah, mate, congratulations on the mighty Magpies. I thought it could happen, but I just thought it was just an amazing performance. So that late in that second into the third, mate, unbelievable. And if you do that again, well, it's you're a huge chance to go 2 premierships in 3 years. So congratulations, mate.
Thank you. I think it's I'm not trying to get too ahead of myself and look at it from that point of view, but just in general, the performance last night was something that I think have been screaming for a long time, and I think it was well overdue. The fitness and the sports science staff at Collingwood posted a video on their socials the other day saying that, you know, they flogged them over the past month. They got them to a point where they wanted them to be going over 90% fitness, and they timed it perfectly with the finals. So they managed their loads, they deloaded, they did all that stuff they had to do, you know. And to be fair, I'm not going to sit here and say that I agreed with every single bit of it. And I know that other Collingwood fans didn't agree with every single bit of it because, we lost games that we should have won.
Mm-hmm.
And that could have given us that home qualifying final. But the way that it's panned out at the moment, the way things are, it looks like it seems to work. With that being said, I think it's safe now to rename the Adelaide Oval the Collingwood Oval. We lost that one game. And to be fair, I don't think Collingwood wins last night without losing that game a couple of weeks ago. I think that was a really important stepping stone to get the monkey off the back. I'm very superstitious when it comes to this stuff, but to get the monkey off the back and then to obviously be able to go there and, do what we needed to do and get the job done. And I said in my preview, and I posted it on Instagram last night, it wasn't going to be a game where it was Collingwood blitzing in the first quarter, Adelaide coming out in the second quarter, arm wrestle. It was not going to be that. And I said that in my preview. It's going to be an arm wrestle for the first two quarters, and Collingwood will come out in the third quarter and they'll do what they do best, and they shut the Crows down. Would have been nice to kick a couple of early goals in the last quarter just to settle the nerves a little bit. But at the same time, they did what they needed to do. And I think it was a Jamie Elliott and Jordan De Goey masterclass. But the good part about this is, as a football lover, it doesn't stop. We go tonight. So give me your thoughts on the remaining games of the finals. Over to you.
Absolutely, mate. And you just mentioned Jamie Elliott and Jordan De Goey, mate. Jordan De Goey, what a star he is, eh? I reckon he's the one who sparked that revival, so to speak. But mate, let's get into Geelong and Brisbane. I've done a little bit of research. I'm actually going to tonight's game. This is the first finals game I'm going since the Richmond era, because I haven't lived in Melbourne for the last 5-6 years, and I'm back in town. It's exciting to be here in September. Mate, look, it's going to be a huge clash, Geelong. What can we say? It's hard to read their form, in my opinion, simply based on the fact that they've had, out of all the final sides, I would say the softest draw through the year. And obviously with their home advantage down in Geelong, they win a lot of games down there, and they've been beating up on a lot of weaker sides. There's really been two sides, strength to sides this year. You've had the top nine, who are honestly probably the closest ability in, as far as I can remember. I know we say it every single year, but literally from, I don't know what it was, but it was only eight points between first and then the Dogs missing out in ninth. And then Geelong have been beating up on a lot of weaker sides. I saw them beat up on my beloved Richmond. They beat up on Essendon, a couple of 100-point floggings or 90-something point floggings. The thing that concerns me with Geelong is I feel they are too reliant on the top-end talent. Obviously, Jeremy Cameron won the Coleman. Paddy Dangerfield is as dangerous as ever, being managed really well. But I just think, if you look at their bottom 10 players, I just feel, in a big final, I know they're experienced. I just think coming up against Brisbane Lions, I'm just looking at some of these players, mate. Ones to watch: Hugh McCluggage, Josh Dunkley, Harris Andrews, these sort of, game breakers. And then I've noted Geelong's most three important players. I've written down Jeremy Cameron, Patrick Dangerfield, and Tom Stewart. I just feel, Brisbane's whole team it's more youthful. They're back-to-back grand finalists. They won last year's grand final, reigning premiers, and they know how to win away. Brisbane, they've probably been better away this year than they have at home. I think they dropped 5 games at home, and they just seem to know how to travel, mate.
Which is a complete flip from previous seasons, though. And it's true, they've been playing really good away. Usually, it was a fortress in Brisbane. They've been beaten a few times there. They also got beaten by the Gold Coast, albeit at People's First, but it's not as if they went interstate for that game as well. So, it has been a lot different for Brisbane this season. And then take into consideration last year's preliminary final, I think it's going to be pretty much almost an exact same carbon copy of that game. Who's your tip for this game?
So I've got Geelong. I apologise. Start again. I've got Brisbane by 7 points. I just think they've got so many players, that go through that midfield, that rotate really well. Top it off with, Logan Morris, who's just a young gun key forward, and he's a really hard matchup on. I think it's going to be Brisbane by 7 points. That's the tip I've got.
I've got Brisbane in a nail biter. I couldn't decide how many points, so I'm just going to say 1 point because I think it's going to be pretty close. Yep. But I do think the winner out of this game will make the grand final. I think the winner out of this game will get whoever it is, Geelong or Brisbane. I think that they will be 1 foot directly in the door, quite convincingly into the grand final. The next game after that is GWS versus Hawthorn at NG Stadium. I don't really know how to read this one. I feel as if both teams can win, and I feel as if both teams can spank the other side. I don't know where to see this. I've just got a feeling, though, Hawthorn might have the smarts in this game. I know they haven't won at NG Stadium before, but I've just got a feeling if Hawthorn can win this game, it's going to make things pretty difficult for the Adelaide Crows come next week. But at the same time, you just can't write off GWS at home.
No, you can't. And, speaking of GWS, how inspirational was Toby Green in that last about 1 minute 10 as Kilda were, basically going to go straight through the corridor. Those marks that he took, they were just inspirational marks. Like, you remember playing local footy, you get up and about. If you saw a teammate do a big tackle or take a big courageous mark, you get up and about. And I feel like those GWS young guns really follow Toby. He's been there since the start. He's there kind of I'd hate to play against him, but I'd love to play with him. He's one of those sort of players. And for this game, mate, I'm just going to tell you my key matchups and who I'm going to think and why. Basically, I've got GWS, the most important players in this one. I've got Toby Green, Sam Taylor, and Tom Green. Those top-end tier players, they're the engine room of their forward line and their midfield. And GWS, mate, I don't actually I'm tipping the GWS, but it's simply because it's at the NG Stadium at the showgrounds there, mate. That's the only reason I'm actually tipping the GWS. And I just think at home, they're building. They're still trying to get that maiden flag. They've gotten close a couple of times, made one grand final, many prelims. I just think at home they should get the job done. Hawthorn, on the other hand, mate, they are so dangerous up forward. The key plays I've got for them in tomorrow's game is Jai Newcomb, James Sicily down back, but he's sort of like a swing man. He can play anywhere. He can play in the wing, and he can kick a goal if needed up forward. And Nick Watson, he's been so impressive this year. And I just think, if Hawthorn bring their running game and they can sort of confuse the GWS backs with their tools, Gunston, Scholl, and co., they could win. But I have got the GWS Giants simply because it's at home. It's a flip of the coin for me. I've got the GWS Giants winning by 11 points.
Yeah, I think everything you've said, you've hit the nail on the head there. Having witnessed what Hawthorn did to Collingwood a couple of weeks ago and just their transition out of defence, I think it's going to be really difficult to stop. I just think in finals football, Sam Mitchell, a bit like Fly McRae, he's a bit of a tactical genius. I've just got this feeling that Hawthorn might be able to stem the flow over there. The only reason why I don't even know which way I'm leaning towards this game. I think it's going to be another nail biter. I think all the finals games are going to be really close, the remaining ones anyway. I will tip Hawthorn because my heart is saying Hawthorn in this game, but my head and my gut are just leaning towards GWS because of the home ground advantage. But I'm going to tip Hawthorn by under 10 points, and I think this has got John Newcomb written all over it, just bursting out of the middle, delivering the ball into the forward line. I just think it's just one of those games, I think, and the ground suits him as well. So that's my tip for this one here. Then you've got the remaining game, Fremantle, your Dockers, your adopted side. We know. Let's just be real here.
I love the Freo Dockers. I do.
You're a diehard Richmond supporter. You bleed yellow and black, but all of a sudden you've pissed off to Western Australia, and all of a sudden now there's a bit of purple fever in you. 100%. Give me your predictions for this game.
Mate, this is exciting because I feel like Fremantle. I did a little practice video on my own socials yesterday just to get the footy conversation because I haven't done much footy media in recent years. But, I just look at Fremantle and I just think they are a really dangerous side. Like, I feel like they're one of those sides that they're young, but they've built experiences. And the press over in WA, mate, every time Justin Longmuir lost the game, even though they've been playing so well against Sydney, they only lost by 11 points. Obviously, they got dismantled by Brisbane. But if you look at their form, right, and they're only just beating sides, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who's in front of you, you got to win the matches. They've won, I think, 12 out of the last 14. They were so impressive. Everyone wrote them off, mate. Everyone just said it's a foregone conclusion that the Dogs were going to win at Etihad Stadium. And like Geelong, I actually watched Richmond v Western Bulldogs at Etihad Stadium. Was it Marvel Stadium? I don't even know what it's called. You know what I'm talking about. The one at Southern Cross Station.
Yeah. Docklands. Just whenever we don't know how to call it, whether it's Colonial Stadium, Telstra Dome, Etihad Stadium, or Marvel Stadium, we just call it Docklands. That's it.
Yeah, the Docklands. That's the one, mate. But I saw the Doggies beat up on Richmond that day. And like Geelong, it's hard to read their form because they're so red hot against the weaker sides and they kind of look like all superstars. But I feel like to go over there and do what they did, they were, feeling out the Dogs early and they were down by 15 points at quarter time. And then they just turned it on, mate. Like they just turned it on. They made Western Bulldogs chase their tail, made the Western Bulldogs midfield look second rate in that second quarter. And if they can bring that game, that style of play, they are dangerous. They've done it. They've beaten Collingwood at the G. They've beaten Gold Coast at Gold Coast. They've won all around the country, and that's something that Fremantle hasn't done in previous years. So these are my key points here and reasons why I think they're going to win. Alex Pearce down back against Ben King. Ben King kicked, I think, 6 or 7 goals against a weak and Essendon side last week to secure Gold Coast first finals. But Alex Pearce has been injury-riddled, but he's an inspirational captain, mate. He's 30 years of age, and that's going to be a really good matchup.
Sorry to cut you off, but that goal against Port Adelaide when Port were pressing and he's taken that mark in the forward line as a defender and then he's gone back and he's kicked the ceiling goal. That, for me, was one of the goals of the season, just one of the moments of the year that just cemented or almost cemented Fremantle's spot in the 8 because without him doing that and the results still going their way, Fremantle don't make the finals. So I think that was just a clutch moment of the season for Alex Pearce.
100%, and that was a set play, by the way. That they said they just rolled the dice, and he's done it a couple of times. I think there was a draw last year against Collingwood where he never kicks a goal, and he kicked I think Freo kicked the last forward. I think you remember that.
Yeah, that was the game that cost Collingwood the final series because the umpire wasn't happy that Lockie Sullivan gave the ball to Nick Dacos instead of him, and he gave a free kick. But then again, if you look at the rule in general for time wasting, and if you're going to pay that, that's fine. But then against Adelaide round 23, where Phil Thorpe kicks the ball away from the boundary umpire, it doesn't happen. Why? Because it's the Collingwood narrative, but that's my biased opinion, and this isn't a biased show, so I'll leave that one there alone. But Alex Pearce is he rises in the clutch moments wherever he's on the ground. I think he's a fantastic player for Fremantle, and he's just got, I think, especially down in defence, he reminds me of a little bit of Jacob Wiedering in the side, probably a little bit better, to be honest. Yep. But just the composure in defence when the pressure's on, and then when you have to go, he goes. I don't think he has games where he dominates like a Darcy Moore did last night, especially after making a fumble. But then Darcy just plays and gets almost best on ground. But I think Pearce just has these moments. He has composure. And he's like a silent quarterback for Fremantle. And I think it's just, I mean, any club would absolutely kill to have him in the side. So I'm guessing with this one here, Winno, you're tipping the Dockers.
Tip the Dockers. Can I quickly just go through a couple more key points?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. And just in the midfield, I was going to just mention like the midfield battle, mate. Like, man, we're talking Matt Rao and Caleb Sarong. I think they'll go head-to-head, and Noah Anderson and Andy Brayshaw. That will be a really interesting matchup as well. I
It's
think that's
juicy.
the way,
That's juicy. That's so juicy to
I
watch.
think that's the way we'll go. Look, I think obviously I'm leaning towards to tip Fremantle. It's at Optus Stadium, mate. It's a 60,000 seat stadium. To all your followers in the Collingwood Army, mate, and all your footy followers who follow the show, you've got to get to, mate. I'm telling you, Optus Stadium. It's the futuristic stadium. The MCG is the MCG. It's the home of footy. We know that, but that from modern stadium is just next level. So look, my X factor, Shai Bolton from the Tigers. He's the money man. He came. They got Shai Bolton because of their finals experience, and he's won premierships. Also, Luke Jackson as well, mate. He's only 23 years old. He's a bit of a swingman. He can play in the ruck, and we all know he can kick goals. And then for the Gold Coast, Matty Rowell, Noah Anderson, Jared Witts, I think they're the most important players. But in a nutshell, it's at Optus Stadium. It's flag mantle time, and it's the Mighty Dockers by 22 points in a good game. But I think the Dockers will be too strong at home.
Look, I'm tipping Fremantle for this game. I wouldn't. I'm probably not going to pick him by 22 or that. I think it's going to be a lot closer. I will tip him probably by. I'm just going to say 10 points because I do love that midfield battle. And I'm just looking at the way that Gold Coast, albeit against West Coast at the start of the season, I just think Gold Coast travel well and they're not scared anymore and they don't go into their shell when they play away from home. It is going to be a cauldron of purple and it's going to make it extremely difficult for the Gold Coast. But just when you said the names Noah Anderson, Matty Rowell, throw Tuke Miller in there as well, that it's just a midfield that I think it's up against Sarong, up against Brayshaw. You got Luke Jackson, who's had a fantastic season in the All-Australian squad, crashing through the pack. It's going to be a great game. And who would have thought, 5 years ago that we'd be saying that one of the games of the final series is going to be Fremantle and Gold Coast, albeit we think Fremantle are probably the most certainly out of all the games.
Yeah.
But it's just the matchup is it's such a good football matchup and they go so even with each other.
And not to mention, mate, Ryan, well, I think he'll be the rising star, Jordan Clark. He's had an amazing year, 18, 19 years of age, kicks goals. He's kicked 27 goals in a debut year. That's pretty good. So there's a bit of flair there. But also, just to cap it off, mate, it's exciting for footy, right? Mm-hmm. The AFL started the national game about 30-odd years ago or 34 years ago with the Crows. And you look at I think there's more interstate sides in the comp in the 8 this year than there is Victorian sides, which hasn't been the case. So it's exciting for footy and growing the game around the country as well.
I'm gonna just ask you one question now.
Yep.
Not finals related.
Okay.
But there's been a comment here that I actually had written down, and Turtle, the great David Hatley, has put this up. He says, question for the Tigers expert. Is he surprised Jacob Blight was delisted?
Absolutely. Mate, I thought he would have got a 2-year contract. He played really well. Tall defender. He can play forward as well. And he's played really well in the VFL. So whoever picks him up, mate, he's definitely, I think he's 22, 23, so he'd be a mature age recruit, but definitely a lot to work with Jacob Blight. Very surprised he got delisted, but, this is the game, mate. We don't really know what goes on behind the scenes, but whoever picks him up, they're going to pick up a good, we'll call him a swingman because he can play majority down back, but can also go forward and kick a goal.
He's a big body too. He's a really good size. And that for me, that's probably the biggest surprise with him being delisted, especially with the likes of someone like a McIntosh, who's the guy at the headband. So I just had a mental blank just then.
McIntosh.
McIntosh. Yeah. So I mean, I thought McIntosh would have had another season left in him. I'm surprised someone like Carlton doesn't go for just the experience in their defence because they're screaming for help down back, and also up forward. But we'll have to see. There's lots of trade murmurs going around. Charlie Curnow also with
it never ends, mate.
Charlie Curnow, will he become a swan? Will he become a cat? It depends on the farm that gets thrown at him. or will he go anywhere else? Would he go to Gold Coast? Who knows? Voss is adamant that he's not going anywhere, which I think is probably the right call for Carlton. But who knows? At the end of the day, wherever there is smoke, there is fire. And I do think that he'll stay at Carlton for at least one more season. I think it's probably not going to happen this year, but he's put the murmurs out there. He doesn't want to be there. And I would be very confident to say, and I'd like to get your quick opinion on this before we wrap it up. Do you think Charlie Curnow will finish his career at the Carlton Football Club?
No, because Carlton are in no man's land. They were meant to. I foolishly tipped them for the flag this year. I thought they're going to finally get it together, what they did 2 years ago. But it's clear there's a cultural problem down there from the board to just there's just something not quite right. And I think they reluctantly signed Voss again. I think for his 5th season. They're in no man's land. I feel like I much prefer to be a Richmond supporter. We know where we're at. And I feel these lower sides like. Carlton are in no man's land. Like they were meant to be top 4 and all these things. And it's sad because we need a strong Carlton for a strong competition. It'd be grouse if the Blue Boys were up and about. Of course, we all love to hate them, but we need a strong Carlton. We need a strong Collingwood. We need a strong Essendon as well. So, no, I don't think – if Charlie Curnow – it's hard because he's contracted yet. But if they can find the right deal and Carlton can get, I don't know who. It'd be a tough trade.
They need a first rounder, and Tom Papley, I think, is a fair trade, but I don't think Sydney would be able to give it.
Still age, Papley's 28, Curnow's 27, 28. The first rounder might get the job done. But at the end of the day, why would you want a player at your footy club if he doesn't really want to be there? You're not going to get the best version of that player anyway. So, I think if they get the trade done, I think Curnow can go up north to Sydney, or who knows? But we'll see. We'll see what happens, mate. Trade period is a funny one, and players end up at clubs that they never thought they would. So, but exciting times ahead, mate. And you're doing a good job with your show, mate. I really respect anyone putting themselves out there on social media and YouTube, especially. I know how much work goes behind it, mate. So best of luck with it. And I know your subscribers well and truly past 1,000. And hopefully you get to your goal 2K over the off season.
Thanks, Winno. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
That's all we got time for today. That's another episode of the RDO show wrapped up, done and dusted. Winno, appreciate your input. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Make sure you give our sponsors a follow, New Homes Vic, and also the Hopper Bros Barbecue for all your tips and tricks and everything barbecue. Make sure you give them a follow on Instagram. This has been the RDO show. Thank you so much for tuning in. The review to the Collingwood Adelaide game will be posted on the YouTube channel later this afternoon. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining, and we'll talk to you soon.